As a business owner, it's important to constantly move things off your plate.
So in this episode, we're going to build off of a previous episode and actually show you why you should focus on automation before delegation.
Are you frustrated by a lack of momentum in your business? Tired of putting in long hours doing what everyone says you should and still not making money? Sounds like you're ready for Lifestyle Builders. We'll help you get back on track, taking action, and seeing results. Head over to joinlifestylebuilders.com today to get started. All right. That sounds like a lot of shuns.
Shuns.
It's all the shuns.
It's almost like all the Eatos, Doritos, Fritos, Cheetos.
That was very random.
You know me, Mr. Random over here.
No, you would be making up a song about them and singing it to the tune of one of our children's other songs that they know, and then they would sing it all the time.
Yes, I would.
I feel like I need to get one of those on recording at some point just to prove to people how many times you make up songs in this house.
I do not know what you're talking about.
All right. So the problem a lot of entrepreneurs have, too much to do and not enough time to do it.
It's the number one problem we hear from people.
Number one problem.
Everyone that comes to us, so here's the thing, when you want to build a business, when you want to make a change in your life, that change requires an investment.
Yeah.
And
usually that investment is time. Absolutely.
And most people, the reason they don't make changes is because they're like, well, I don't have time for that, right? That sounds too hard. As a result, most people stay stuck. Mm-hmm. And what we find is that the people that change and are successful are the ones that realize that it is going to take time, yet they actually have a lot more time than they realized.
Yes.
And that's why we have a lot of people do the time audit. It's one of the first things we have people do, because when you really sit down and see where your time goes, then you find that there are ways for you to free up time. On the flip side, as you're building a business, that time that you freed up eventually starts getting taken
refilled.
Away because now you're refilled. That's a really good word.
Thank you.
Because now you're taking care of the marketing, you're taking care of the sales, you're taking care of delivering your product and creating your product or service.
Typically, you're wearing all the hats to begin.
So
your time gets filled back in very, very quickly.
So we had a previous episode where we talked about, how to create processes, how to optimize processes, but we wanted to dive a little bit deeper into this automation piece because when people said they're overwhelmed, people are always like, oh, well, get this tool or, hire somebody and delegate it. And people often struggle there, and there's a couple reasons for that, but either they pick the wrong tool, it's the wrong time, or
they get overwhelmed with choice of tools.
Yeah. Or they try to hire somebody when it's not really the right time to hire, or they're trying to give the people they're hiring the wrong tasks and it doesn't work out. So this is the reason that we're diving deeper into this topic in this episode, is because it's such a common pain point, and we want to guide you guys through how do you use automation and delegation when you're really trying to get things off of your plate.
Yeah. And of course, we have a book recommendation and a show recommendation for this first item, how to get more things off, or identifying what to get off of your plate.
Are you bringing up a book early in the episode?
No, I'm just alluding to the fact that you're going to bring up a book early in the episode.
So what book would that be?
So the first way that you can start identifying things to get off of your plate is to identify what your zone of genius is. What things are you good at? What are the things that you have to do for your business to be running?
Yeah. And really where you add the most value.
Exactly. And the book that really helps you figure that out is by our good friend, Mike Michalowicz, his newest book, Clockwork. And he talks about it as the queen bee role. And what is the queen bee role? But, it's very commonly also sort of like, what's the zone of genius that you fit into in your business? What are those pieces and parts that are essential for you to be doing for the business to get the results that it wants for its customers?
Yeah. And so we did a whole episode on that book. It was show 98. And part of what was really cool in that book was, he introduces the QBR, but then he has an activity to help you figure out what are the top 6 activities that you spend time on. And then it visually helps you see how each of those takes away from your QBR or your zone of genius. So if you guys want more on that activity and kind of how that works, like we said, tomandariana.com/98 will get you that episode and that activity. But ultimately, what it comes down to is first identifying your zone of genius and then figuring out what takes away from it.
Correct.
And once you do that, now you can get into this point of optimizing your processes, automating, delegating, all of this fun stuff.
Yeah. And once you've been able to identify those things that are taking away from what you do well, it is actually better for you to categorize which of those can be automated before you think about delegating things off to a person.
Mm-hmm. Well, and, so we obviously had a show about this. If you guys haven't listened, it's show 107, 5 steps to optimizing your process. And we went through the 5 steps. And it's interesting because I had somebody call me out and they said, well, I've seen from so-and-so expert that you should actually delegate before you automate. And there may or may not be times where that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, what we've seen, what we've experienced with clients is that automation usually precedes delegation. And really, one of the first reasons for this is that it's usually a lot cheaper and a lot easier. So, for example, one automation you can use is if you have emails coming in, you can use automation to automatically tag those emails and automatically move them into
automations ever.
Yeah, move them into, a folder if you're using Outlook or into like a label, if you're using Gmail.
Yeah. And a lot of people will say like email is such a big time suck. There are a lot of simple ways that you can automate your inbox. You can mark things as a priority. You can mark things as unimportant or promotions. You still might want to keep the emails, but then it's not coming in and cluttering your inbox because it says, oh, here's a promotion from Shutterfly. I know you guys all love Shutterfly and all those deals that they send out.
That was exactly the example.
Because every time you want to, shut it. Every time you want a picture or like make it one of your photo books for your kids, like you want to have that in your inbox to say like, oh, let me go and see if there's any good deals. I have some time and I want to put a photo book together for Mother's Day or whatever. But you don't want it in your inbox because you don't need to be looking at it. You don't need to be concerned about it until you are ready to be. So you create a label and a filter in Gmail that says anything coming from Shutterfly goes into my promotions tab and it stays out of my inbox. So that way Gmail is doing the hard work for you. It's tagging all those things that you want to have when you need them, but you don't need to see them every single day. It also can recognize things that you open all the time. Like if I'm opening emails that Tom is forwarding me, it marks
Better
those
be opening those emails.
I'm going to smack you. It marks those emails as priority because I open them all the time. It's assuming that they're important emails because I'm opening them.
Which they are.
Seriously, what is wrong with you today? And, there's just a lot of things that you can set up very quickly and very easily in Gmail rather than hiring an assistant and paying said assistant to be in your inbox and opening all of said promotional emails or tagging those emails. Their time and yours and your money is better off doing other things than paying for an assistant to do those simple tasks in your email. Mm-hmm. If you want an assistant in your email, you want them to be taking care of the important stuff, the priority items. So use Gmail, automate your inbox for those quick and easy tasks, and then pay somebody for the stuff that's actually important.
So such a valid point. And that's just email.
Correct.
Right? So now you apply this to all these other areas and you might be saying, well, this tool I have doesn't have automation in it. It's not built like Gmail where it has filters. Well, there's tools out there that actually connect different tools and allow you to do automation. Mm-hmm. So Zapier is one that we use all the time. There's other ones out there like If This Then That. But basically what these tools allow you to do is to say, when this thing happens, then do this other thing. And Zapier is actually free for the first certain amount.
Mm-hmm. I think you get 5 zaps free.
Yeah. So it's literally cheaper than delegating that to somebody else. But then even when you start paying, the cheapest plan is like $20 a month. So if you hire an assistant or anybody else to do it, one, that's probably going to get like an hour of their time, maybe 2. Even if you're hiring from like another place where cost of wage is cheaper, that's still only going to get you maybe like 3 or 4 hours of somebody's time. Mm-hmm. But for Zapier, that can do 20 different tasks and it does them automatically. And here's the beautiful part. It does them the same every time. This is a huge thing that people struggle with is there's certain tasks that computers are really good at doing. And usually those tasks are the ones that are formatted if this, then that, right? So for those types of tasks, you typically want a computer or a tool to do them because they're going to be faster. It's going to be consistent. The same thing is going to happen every time. And these are mundane and boring. If you try to delegate these tasks to somebody else, here's what's going to happen. It's going to cost you more money. They're going to screw it up from time to time because they're humans. And they're probably going to get bored of it.
Yeah.
Because as humans, we like to have a challenge. Yeah. Right? So we don't want to be doing these mundane tasks. So if we can have a tool do them, then when you delegate the stuff that maybe needs a little bit of decision making, needs a human touch. And usually the people you hire are going to appreciate doing those tasks much more than they're going to appreciate, like, click this email, click this label, click this like, that's tedious.
What? Tedious. But yes, it is very true as well. Is you're better off automating those little pieces first before you hire somebody in, because they're going to appreciate it even more when you have a well-run engine and a well-run system to where they're coming in and they know exactly what things are automated and exactly what their role is once that automation has finished. So it actually allows you to give very specific expectations of the people that you are outsourcing things to, as opposed to being very convoluted and confusing. When you have a process in a system that gets followed and that automation piece is already put in place in there, it makes it much easier for someone to come in and be a part of your team when you have those things put in place.
Well, and building off of that point, if I want to go hire Zapier, and by the way, what we're talking about is somebody doing a job for us. Right. So if I want to go hire Zapier to do a job, I go to Zapier's website, I create an account, and then I tell it the job to do. Anybody can do that in like an hour. If I want to hire a person to do a job for me, here's what I got to do. I got to figure out what that job is, which I got to do either way. I got to now go put a job posting out and find that person. I've got to interview a bunch of people and figure out which one I think is the best to do the job.
You have to figure out how much that job is going to cost you to pay them and if it's worth your time and money to do said thing.
You then have to onboard them, help them get set up with the different systems, help make sure they know what to do. Then you've got to train them. Here's the process. Then you've got to manage them, make sure that they're doing it right the first couple times, and then stay in communication with them ongoing. Now, if we're doing these simple tasks that are repetitive, which route do you want to go down? Right? The app route, the tool route is so much easier for that stuff. Because when we put in more time into bringing a person in, we want to make sure that they're going to be around for a while and they're doing valuable tasks or more valuable tasks than something that we can do easier. Like, why would we want to make something more complicated if we can make it easier and it's going to be cheaper for us?
Yes. Now, I am going to put out a warning, because we don't want you to go down a rabbit hole of automation based on this episode, because it is easy to do, especially if you're getting into researching what kinds of automations there are and how you can connect things. And like, there is a world of integrations out there that's just insane. So don't put yourself in that position thinking like, oh, they said automation is better than delegation, so I'm just going to go automate everything. That's not what we're saying. We're saying to be very specific in when you're building out your processes and looking at those different pieces, those different subtasks in each step of the process. Where is that efficient and effective part where automation is going to make sense? And go one at a time. Don't try to go and automate all these pieces of your processes all at the same time, because you're just going to get overwhelmed and things are just going to be a big mess. So take one process, look at the steps, figure out which pieces can be automated and make sense to do so, and do that. And then if there's a delegation part, do that. Don't go crazy on us here, because I know, it can be, oh, they said automation's better than delegation, so I'm going to automate everything. That's not what we're saying.
Well, and the other piece of that too is, I probably downplayed this a bit, automation still requires some upkeep. So you've got to be checking in, make sure your automations are still working.
Yep.
Hopefully have something in place so that when they fail, you're alerted and you can go fix them.
As you change your processes, you're going to have to shift some of your automations.
And update them. Yep. So part of it too is, as you build automations, it's not like, well, I build all these things and I never touch them.
Yeah.
The more automations you have, the more management you're going to have of those.
And the more chances there are for something to break, and then everything after
And
said
then other
thing
stuff can
breaks
break.
down.
Yep. So with that, to your point, let's go through and just talk about some common automations that we've used and we see people really get started and benefit with. Because what that's going to do is give you guys a good idea of like, here's some different things that maybe I can start automating now. One, if I haven't delegated or hired anybody yet, or two, looking at what you're having people do, and maybe some of it can be automation so that the people you have on your teams can then be doing more valuable and fulfilling things.
Yes. So we already talked about one, and I would say that's probably the biggest one and the easiest one to get started with is your email inbox.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I mean, that's where a lot of people, the time suck of email is huge.
I barely ever look at my email inboxes these days. And then when I do, I know exactly what things I need to look at and what things I don't.
Mm-hmm. So like you said, really in email, the main things you can do are you can tag certain emails. You can then automate the moving of them. So in your
filters.
What,
Shutterstock,
Shutterfly? I don't know.
Shutterstock is pictures, like
you.
Images that you could use in your
Clearly,
business.
I am not in this space. But so you could maybe, if those emails come in, they're tagged with promotion or coupons or whatever you want, and then they're moved into a folder so that when you are looking for promotions or coupons, you can go find them, but they're not in your inbox requiring you to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of other automations like with autoresponders or reminders. Like Gmail has some of this, but there's also third-party apps like Boomerang, which will pull emails back in. So there's a lot you can do.
Also allows you to send emails at a certain time. So if you're checking your inbox at 8 p.m. and you don't want people to know that you're emailing at 8 p.m., you can set it to send at normal business hours the next day at 8 a.m.
Yep. So, I mean, anything that's like a time suck is usually a good point for that. So, main time sucks are usually email, social media, your phone, your calendar management. So that's another one. Like if you're somebody that has a lot of meetings with people, having a tool to help you manage your calendar is huge.
Yep.
So for example, we use Calendly, and that allows people to schedule time with us. We've actually used it in some of our other businesses for people.
Use it in personal life too. Even when I have coffee chats with people, instead of being like, "Oh, are you free this time?" and doing the back and forth between, "Are you free here?" "Nope." "Are you free here?" on Facebook Messenger or wherever you're chatting. Just say, "Hey, yeah, grab a time on my calendar, and whatever works for you." Mm-hmm. There you go. You send them one link. They book in a time with you. Then that time is automated, sends you both emails and reminders. All those things.
Yeah, well, and actually, so tying a couple of these pieces together, with our real estate business, what it used to be for somebody to book an appointment to see a property was they would call. We may or may not answer the call. Then we try to call them back, so we're playing phone tag. Then when they do call, we're trying to look at our calendar and schedule a time for them. Then we got to notify everyone who's got to be there, really tedious. So what we did was we implemented this self-service process where they can go and use a calendar link to then book their time. When that happens, all the people automatically get notified. So we cut out the whole human element of doing that and let people schedule their own times, which is better for our customers, better for us, and actually cheaper for us.
Yeah, and a lot less time spent playing back and phone on the back. Wow, no, back and forth on the phone. I can talk. I swear, guys.
Next one up that's really cool in personal and business is your bill payments. So if you can automatically schedule your payments, whenever we can, we put payments on credit cards, one for points, and then two, so that we just make one credit card payment, makes our checking accounts much cleaner.
Yep.
But so in that case, you can schedule all your bills, and that way you're not forgetting bills and getting interest charges, but then you're also not having to spend time to pay a repetitive bill.
Yeah, because most bills are not on the same day of the month, so you're jumping in multiple times a month paying those bills. Instead, you can have it automated and have them all be paid on the same day, making sure you're hitting all due dates and so on and so forth. I like a lot of the zaps for kind of workflow. As people come in and do things, they trigger the next thing. So, a lot of people have discovery calls where you can book a call with them. But what you want is to ask those people some questions before they book the call or kind of prepare for said call. So you have Zap set up to when they apply, they have to go through and fill out a Google form. That Google form is directly connected to a Google Sheet that that has all their data. And then once they hit submit, it actually creates a Trello card where you can go in and quickly see the most important information you need, all their answers from their questions before the call, and you can tag it as needed. You can move it into different boards on your or different lists on your Trello board based on actions.
It adds reminders to calendars so everyone's then notified.
Yep.
So yeah, to your point, anything that has a workflow is really good for automation. So this can be client onboarding. This can be anything where,
surveys, even if you're doing surveys, same sort of thing. They fill out the answers to the survey question. They can put it in a spreadsheet for you. And then based on that, you can also have it do something else in the spreadsheet. Like if someone answers this, add them to this list over here.
Yep, exactly. And so there's a million other ones that we can do. But the final one that I'll say for you guys is reminders. Because like we all have smartphones these days, right? One of the things that comes up very often is that we need to do something, but in that point in time, we don't remember. Most of us can just say, hey, set a reminder for this time to do this thing. That way you're not missing it or, missing out on it. But now your phone can help guide you on where you should be focused at certain times. So every meeting we have has a reminder. And then if there's certain things that come up at certain times, you just set a quick reminder like that to then have the phone remind you rather than having a person then have to remind you.
And I mean, quick another one, just before we close out this episode. Tom mentioned IFTTT, if this then that. That one's really cool because that has a lot of capabilities for content to be reorganized or connected in some ways. So like if you are somebody who writes blogs and you have new blog posts coming out, something like IFTTT can automatically read the RSS feed on your website and post to social media when your new blog comes out. Now, obviously there's people that are going to tell you different things about that. But if you're just getting started and you want a simple automation to make sure that everyone following you knows you just wrote a new blog post, now you can go and set something like that up.
Yep. And I mean, some of it is integration tools like that. In other cases, there's actually dedicated tools that allow you to automate some of that, schedule some of that. That's another thing we were talking about.
Social media scheduling.
Scheduling anything ahead of time, because we've talked in the past about how sometimes you might be batching stuff. That might be writing emails, and then you use a email automation tool to send those out at a certain period of time.
Yep.
That might be creating a podcast or creating any other sort of stuff that you're doing at once, but you're going to schedule for the future so that you're not having to go in at specific times and post things. You're automating that and letting technology help you.
All right. Now we need some action items.
Yes, we do.
Really, if you see Tom move quickly, it's because I probably kicked his leg under the table here.
All right. So we just went through a list of a bunch of things that you can get started automating pretty easily. So what I want people to do is to pick one thing from that list and then go and add some automation in place to save yourself a little bit of time and take something off of your plate.
What's my action item for today? I haven't decided. I had one and then I changed my mind mid-episode.
Let's say, usually you should say, well, Tom, you stole mine, so...
Sometimes you do steal mine. No, I would love to know what you have currently automated in your business.
Oh, nice.
Because I think that you probably have done at least one thing. But just type up a list, because your automation might inspire somebody else that didn't realize that that was something that could be automated.
I was going to say, and actually that's a really good lead in. So if you guys like this topic and would like more guidance and support as you're building your business, trying to get stuff off of your plate, love to have you guys come and join Lifestyle Builders, because one of the things we actually do in there is periodically share hey, what does your business look like? Or, hey, what things are you automating? Or what Chrome extensions really help you be productive? And it's amazing how, even though I'm the systems guy and I do all this stuff, someone will post something up and I didn't know about that. That would save me so much time.
That's how you found out about Butler in Trello.
Yeah,
because
Butler.
Somebody in our community was like, "Oh my God, I use Butler all the time for Trello," and you were like, "What?
Yeah,
what is this amazing thing?"
That's what I'm saying. There's so many good tools out there, and oftentimes by having somebody post up what they do and you sharing what you do, you'll find just new ways that you can save yourself some time and get some stuff off your plate. So if you guys are interested, you guys can find out more and join the community at joinlifestylebuilders.com.
And the bookshelf for today is a very popular and well-known book in the entrepreneur space. That is The 4-Hour Workweek.
Mm-hmm. And so the 4-Hour Workweek is probably one of the books that most people read when they get into the space. I was going to say, I literally just I feel like I pulled this out for the episode, but most people have read this book because they're like, oh yeah, I would love to work 4 hours. But really what this is about is systems, processes, and leveraging.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, their takeaway from the 4-Hour Workweek was, well, I just delegate stuff to everyone. And there's a part of that there. But what you'll find is that Tim Ferriss actually talks a lot about automation before delegation as well. And it's for the same type of reason. And he actually has, you see, like, you guys have seen how thick this book this is. There's a lot in there. But he goes through different parts and shows a lot of practical examples of how he automated things so he could run his business, quote unquote, on 4 hours a week.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, it's one of the most mentioned books, I feel like.
Yeah, this one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich. You got some of these that just like, if you're an entrepreneur,
you've heard of it and you've probably read it.
Yeah.
All right. It's been another great episode with Tom and Ariana, your hosts and lifestyle builders.
And as always, we want you guys to remember that it's your life, your business, your way. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Hey, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you know another entrepreneur who may benefit from hearing this show, we would so appreciate you being a good friend and sharing it with them. Are you dreaming of a life of financial freedom and more time to spend with your loved ones? Want to build your business to support that dream? You need Lifestyle Builders, a mentorship program designed to meet you where you are and give you strategic and custom guidance so you can build the business you need for the life you crave. Become a lifestyle builder at joinlifestylebuilders.com. Are you a Lifestyle Builders podcast fan? We'd love to hear from you. Head on over to tomandariana.com/iTunes and leave us a review.